Hi everyone, welcome along. So we're going to do a deep dive today into the bike data that we've got from New York. So New York City bikes, similar to the bike scheme in London and similar to a lot of the other city schemes, city transport schemes where you can rent some personal transport, it is what it is. But the nice thing is there's lots of data from it. So there's pickup points where you pick up your bike, you go, you do your cycle ride, and then you drop it off at another drop-off point. So we'd have a look and we'd see what does the data look like, and how is it as well that we get to set it up so that we can use it in DirectQuery. And then is there an impact? How long does it take to query it? Because that's the question I get as well, is if I pick DirectQuery, is it going to slow everything down for me? I don't want something to be slow. It needs to be very good and quick. Right? It will be slower, but I think in terms of what we're doing, it'll allow you to bring through an awful lot more data than you could do with a traditional just Power BI based report pack, even if you went down the premium usage. The downside, of course, is that this is premium, so you have to have a premium subscription. But let's have a look and see what it does for us. And we'll discuss some of the pros and cons, and I'll see if I can trigger oh, you can't do that with it as well. But let's go on and we'll have a look. We've got a list here. It's an AWS bucket, S3 bucket. Now, you can connect this in Power BI, in Power Query, and just unzip everything and get everything out, and then you'd process those through. I've skipped that step. I thought in terms of going through and doing the discussions and the demos and showing you what it's going to do, it take an awful lot longer than I want to do. So what I've done instead is I've gone through and I've extracted all the ones that we want. So what we've picked is everything from 2019 onwards. Okay, so that'll give us some really good core data in terms of 5 years of proper data, 2019 to 2023 of true data, and then we've got the data for the current year. So that feels like that's a good solid piece of data that we can get. So as with them unzipped, I've put them into here. All right, we've got a long list, everything's in here that we've got. So the specific files. There are multiple files for a month if it has more than 1 million rows in it. So it's like lots of data, tons of it. But what we're doing with this, as I say, is a bit different. Got a couple of these that I've been looking at so far. You can see there are a couple of megabytes in terms of the PBIX files that are resulting from it. And when you turn on and you say that's like 190 plus million, 200 rows or so, 200 million rows of data, and it's a couple of meg, that's an interesting one, isn't it? And we do that by using DirectQuery from a Dataflow. Now, you can use DirectQuery with a lot of other areas within Power BI, but this is one of those things that it isn't intuitive when you first see it. So let me download this because I'll open this here once we've got it. But what I wanted to show you is if we go back over to Power BI and we have a look in our bikes area. Oh, bike. See, beautiful little icon for bikes already. Okay, what I've done is I've created two data flows. One pulling through all the data, where you're just getting the data in, and that might yet split. But at the moment, we've got one pulling through every single table of data or every row of data for every journey. And I've created one that just does the station. So what we're effectively doing is it's then deduplicating down actually what are the unique station IDs, station information, so that we don't need to reference it time and again. But everything that we need is fundamentally in this area here. Okay, it's all here. Okay. So with it all being there, how does that work? The way you do it is you have to go through in the settings and under the enhanced compute engine, you have to turn it on. Okay. By default, it's on optimized if you're in a premium workspace, but you need to put it to on. Okay. With it on, suddenly what happens is when you go through and you open a new Power BI file, instead of choosing to import the data into the file, which is how most things do, so you're importing the data into a model. So it's picking the data up from somewhere, bringing it through into your model. And then you can obviously do within Power BI, within the Power BI desktop program, you can then further modify that content. Okay, that you can't do anymore if you go through and you do this. So one of the things that you do when you start to use these DirectQuery tables is you start with a dataset side. So you go through, if we go and edit and transform, let's go and transform. So what you can see here for our events is nothing's happening. Okay, literally I am connecting to it and that's it. Now this is one of those areas. If you do transformations, you have to import it. Okay, you can't transform anything. So you have to make sure your data flow is doing everything you need. But when that happens, the result is that when you bring it through, rather than the import, when you do the close and load, what it does is it gives you a choice, and you can see this is now blue, sorry. Okay, so clearly there's a difference in the way it appears. Okay, and that means that this is in DirectQuery. And you can see that when you come through here, see storage mode is in DirectQuery. Okay, great for putting fact tables in DirectQuery mode. Really good, okay, because it means the data is not here, it's only existing outside my Power BI file. Okay, and because it's outside my file, I don't have to worry that it's going to take up lots of space in my model. And the reality is most of the data that you have in a model in your fact tables will never be used, will it? It's just not going to happen. We've got the stations mapped here, haven't we? Okay. We can see where they are, and I've used a reference layer this time to overlay the boroughs. And again, I'm thinking, is this right? Is this wrong? We'll probably have to go through and see if we can get a proper set of information about the stations, the bike stations in New York, especially with some more comprehensive data in terms of where they are, because all I have is a latitude and longitude. But that allows us to then see, well, which borough are they in? You know, we can highlight the boroughs. The issue, of course, is that some of them aren't in New York City per se. So I'll have to have a look and see if I can find a GeoJSON format that will cover all the bikes. But from here, we can see, we can go in and we can filter it like we would filter anything else, and it filters exactly as you would expect. Okay, there's no real impact there. The issue that you'll find, okay, let me bring this through here. So we can see in terms of our bikes that we've got, let's put it in this way, okay? We've got 31 million, sorry, there. So we've got 133 million rows of data in what we've got so far. If I made this, let's say, make this one of these, okay? So we've got year there, and then we choose to put month name along the top, and then we choose to put, oh, we can do this, actually, that's what we'll do, isn't it? We get rid of month name, let's put year across the top, and let's put station name here. See if we can trigger an error. Okay, so this is one of the issues that you get. So the number of rows that you can return is the problem, right? So at this point, we've got a filter context set up, or a filter set that's going to be placed on here. It's going to get, because it's running in DirectQuery. We can see we've now hit, there's the limit. If we click on it, show the details, say the result set is too big. It exceeds the maximum allowed set of rows. Okay. Was that 1 million? Too many zeros. You look at it and go, well, what's that? Okay. Anyway, you can't return too much data. So it's one that you need to be aware of, that this is the limitation that you'll find with DirectQuery. There are ways around it in that you can build up and you use like aggregation tables to make it simpler and make it work. But an aggregation table potentially have an issue with whatever you do with it. So there's a limitation. So we'll probably experiment with aggregation tables as we go through this. But you can see, okay, we were able to bring something together that effectively broke it. But if we wanted to look and see, well, what's happened month over month, year over year, it'll work absolutely fine. So we can see, we can piece together exactly what's going on. We can use our DirectQuery connection to export, to bring the data to the fore when we need it, and I can then analyze it, and we could pick and choose and say, well, for June in 2023, what did we have? And it'll come back and say, what's 3 million, and it'll filter everything down. Okay, and you can do that with the layers because each visual is what's being evaluated. So there's options there with it. It's not something that you need to say, oh, this is like it's broken, I can't do it. It's just one of those things that it means I'm going to have to do more legwork and think through it rather than just be able to go, yeah, we can just do it like this, no worries. Okay, but DirectQuery makes a huge difference, especially if you're stuck having to just use Dataflows as a whole. Okay, if you want to connect, say, something like AAS, like Azure Analysis Services, that was often you'd connect that with DirectQuery. Potentially, if you looked at some of the stuff going on with the data warehousing side now, that again would be where your Azure Synapse database, you potentially want to connect to that with DirectQuery, because why would you want to take something from a really good structured data set that's built and designed, or data service, sorry, that's built and designed to serve up data, and copy it to somewhere else to then do the same thing? It doesn't make sense. Okay, Dataflows, brilliant for it. They can cope with it now. You can use this. You need to be aware if, for whatever reason, you have a moment of, ooh, I wonder if, right, and decide to change the storage mode for your data set to import, you can't see, to import, you can't change it back. Okay, you have to then remove it and put it back in. So it's a one-way thing that it works, but this will allow you to bring in huge quantities of data. And because it's like that as well, I don't have to worry about duplication of data. So you'll see, for example, in my stations data, I've got the latitude and longitude, I've got all those kind of things set up so that we can use them. And you'll see as well, it's there, end long. So we've got the start and end latitude and longitude are there as well. But because it's not in the data set, we don't have to worry like we would normally about data sizes or database sizes. It just comes through. We're not looking to compress it. We don't need to. So if you've got like huge transaction data available, like you've collected everything that your business has got, you potentially can just cross-reference it and use it as a source. And if you need to, then you build aggregation tables that do that proper trimming of data to streamline it. But you're not having to do that by default. So what do you reckon then? Okay. Now, DirectQuery as a solution to data is incredibly useful. It is something that you will use in practical terms if you're going to be using premium. Right? I would definitely recommend using it. The main issue that you're going to face when you're doing it, and this is from my reference time or my experience with clients with it, is you end up having to build and maintain and manage aggregation tables. Like those aggregation tables, you have to think of them as disposable. They are not sources of truth. So it's one, you end up managing and maintaining something that potentially has zero value to the business because the source of truth is what's in the DirectQuery query. If I say, right, I've got all my transaction data, a transaction table that's going to exist in insert name here, database structure or data flow, but I'm going to produce like a daily and a monthly version so that I can easily do greater scale analysis across them, because all our product lines that we do, everything like that potentially would cause too many problems. But I could do a monthly sales figure, say, based on the specifics of what categories have we sold the most of, what days do we do, all these kind of things. What's not days, sorry, what categories we sell. And then if I choose, say, I want to see what went on in the minutiae of it within a month, then I drop down into a lower level. Or as I say, potentially build a daily aggregation table that does go to that next level down. And those would have to be refreshed. And effectively, those would be a set of data flows, just like we did with this one that we just showed you, where it's a second data flow that runs against it. And it will then do that extract, transform, and load by running a group by against that main query with all the columns that you want to group by, and then sum the various measures that you want to sum for it to produce everything. So there's an awful lot of work that can involve just in terms of running that all through. And of course, you need to remember that there's an impact on its refresh cycle, that those take time to refresh. So, be aware. Okay. But overall, I hope you liked that first part. Okay. And remember, if you decide that you'd like some support and guidance in your data journey, don't forget to send us an email, office@geordieconsulting.co.uk, and we'll be more than happy to help you push your data projects as far as you want to. For now, though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.